Life is precious, and we all have the opportunity of living it to the fullest. Unfortunately, so few of us know how to manage it all. How do we account for our opportunities? How do we account for our time? How do we account for our relationships, health, spirituality, homes, finances, influence, and careers? How do we account for the one life we have to live? I am so glad you asked. In this program, you will find answers to all of these questions and more. Welcome to the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the healthy accountant himself, Jay Moore.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Monday. I want to welcome you back to another episode of the Account for Life podcast. And today, we're going to tell you what's in my future. What's in my future? And today, I just realized this. Well, not really today, but the present is all I have. The present is all I have. That's what's in my future, because really, if I focus on the future, I'll miss out what's in the present. I can stop right here, but we're going to keep going because I think it's important to kind of like take this a little bit further than just 1 minute. So check this out. We were at graduation yesterday. There was some of our friends' sons and daughters graduating from high school, and just looking around and just kind of having a conversation with another one of my friends that we graduated. No, well, we was in college together, and he's turning 50 in a couple of months. And he's just like, man, and we were having this discussion about distilling down the wisdom that we have. And he was like, man, I really want to take this 50 years of experience and I want to give it to my kids. And I said, yeah. I said, but here's the problem we face when we try and do that. They automatically deflect because they're like, hey, I want to come up with my own wisdom. Now, they don't say this, but they're saying it. They want to come up with their own wisdom. And I gave them a quick little, thing that I did with my kids on a test that I'd never done this before, where I wanted to give them wisdom. I said, man, but they're not going to, it's cool. They don't really want it. Or at least they want it, but they're not asking for it. So I said, well, let me ask them a series of questions. I asked them a series of questions that help them. Well, wasn't necessarily helping them. It's just to see what their answers would be. And then I would say, hey, if you want my answer, you got to ask me for it. And then they thought that was weird because they thought I was just going to give them all these answers. I'm not going to give you any answers. I'm only going to give you answers to questions that you have. And so then they started asking me these questions, and I was able to give some answers. What does this have to do with the future and the present? Well, here's the thing. We all get caught up on what's in the future. We all get caught up on, well, it's already 50 years, and what about the next 20 years? Well, don't worry about the next 20 years. Worry about today. Because today, tomorrow, every time we stack a day, what that does, it builds the future. But for some reason we get, and I've done this, we keep looking at the future, which the future is great. The future is amazing. But the present is right now. And all we can do is the present. Man, it's crazy because in the present, sometimes you could have a certain feeling, right? You can have a certain feeling that you may not necessarily be so oh my goodness, I just got to do this thing. But the feeling that you have in the present is not the feeling that's going to help you get to the future. And look, I can tell you straight up, last night, I was just I was dragging. I was just man, I'm not, that pull to the future was a little off. I said, but you know what? That's okay. That's okay, right? Because if the present's all I have, I'm still not going to beat myself up. So if the present is all we have, then what do I do, right? Because I'm looking at my future. I'm not sure if you're looking at your future. And since I'm looking at my future, I'm just documenting this. Here's what I see today. Today, I just see an opportunity. I see opportunities to grow. I see opportunities to get better, to optimize myself. I see opportunities that when I'm growing, optimizing, and looking at my opportunities right now, I have an opportunity, a huge opportunity to do something great. What is it that's great that I can do? Man, I could dominate. I could be a dominator somewhere, in just kind of looking at how the days are shaping up. And I'm looking at the present. how do I focus on the present? That's where Hebrews 11:1, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So right now in the present, right now, I'm saying to myself, well, you know what? I'm going to focus all that I am. I'm going to focus all that I have. I was listening to one of my mentors this morning, and it's just interesting because when you have a mentor, when you have a coach, when you have somebody that's gone ahead, what they have that you don't have, right? They have something in their present that you don't have because maybe my future is locked up into their present. So I have to stay in my present so that I can be around people like that actually help me. You know, when we were doing this overview of this new program that we were putting out last week, and one of the frameworks that I delivered, one of the first, I think it was, I can't remember the framework, but one of the first things within the framework is proximity. And what proximity is kind of like, when you're around a certain thing, when you're around a certain type of people, when you're around or in a certain environment. What happens is, have you ever heard the phrase association brings on assimilation? Like I heard that when I was really young. I think my mom might have been saying that. And I didn't know what it meant until a little bit later on in my life. And I was like, association brings on assimilation. Association is kind of like, as a young baby and you're around your parents, because you are associated with them, all of a sudden, as you get older, you start looking like them. When you first come out of the body and you're this baby, you don't necessarily I didn't necessarily look like my dad until I just was around my dad, and all of a sudden my face started forming and my words started forming and my body starts forming. The only thing I don't look like my parents is my height, but my face, maybe how I walk, how I talk. I was listening to my dad talk when I was last with him, and we talk almost similar. And I was just like, I didn't realize that my dad talked that way. Right. So association brings on assimilation, which is the same as when you're in proximity. If you was in proximity with someone, that's really good. Like playing basketball. I played basketball. And because I was around other people, like there was times when I played, like all of the players, everybody was, high college and high level players. And then when you get around even better players, what happens is, because you was in a good environment, you get around better. This makes you better, right? Proximity is a part of our present that we can control. Say it again. Proximity is a part of our present that we can control. You can control who you get around. I'm so happy, right? Because it's like, me and Shauna gets together and I says, wow, two is actually better. I can read the scripture and it says, where two come together, touch and agree in my name, there I will be. And I said, wow, it actually works. Now, I've seen it, but I never saw it work this fast. I said, this is something else. And why hadn't I been doing this sooner? So what's in my future is right now, today. Like the present is all I have. So that just means that I take the present. It's 9:09 in the AM on Monday morning. I'm not looking for motivation in the present. What I'm looking for today is to know, like, just the living in the knowing of who God created me to be, living in the power of who God has given me, living in the purpose of who God created me to be. And because God created me to be something, I have to be in proximity with people, have to be in environments of people in positions that help me to continue to develop this purpose for which I was created. Because here's the thing, without purpose, there is no power. I'm going to say it again. Without purpose, there is no power. So what's in my future? The present, right now, being in the proximity with the right people at the right time, doing the right things so that we all can move forward in our God-given strengths and our God-given abilities. So look, if you're looking to your future today, get a glimpse of it. It's nothing wrong with that. Get a glimpse of your future, but then say to yourself, what's in my present? Like the present is all I have. Let me do now everything that will enable me to be where I would like to be in that future coming very soon. Guys, I appreciate you for joining me for this episode of the Account for Life podcast. I'm Jay Moore, the Healthy Accountant, helping you to account for your life. God bless, and I will see you on the next episode. Peace.
Thanks for joining us, listening friends. We are so glad you invested this time with us. Always remember, you only have one life to live, so live it to the fullest. This has been the Account for Your Life podcast with your host, the Healthy Accountant himself, Jay Moore. Until next time, make it a great day.